Hello and welcome to Politics Tonight, where we dig and go beyond the headlines for informed analysis of major political stories in Nigeria. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. With less than 35 days to the conduct of the 2023 general election, more court cases regarding conduct of party primaries to choose candidates for the polls are still being decided. Minister of State for Labour and Employment Festus Keyamo has filed a right of summons at the Federal High Court, Abuja, against the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, Atiku Abubakar, over corruption allegations. The Supreme Court has affirmed former Minister of Niger Delta Affairs, Godswill Akpabio, as candidate of the All Progressives Congress APC for the Akwa Ibom Northwest Senatorial District for February 25 National Assembly election. And on the interview segments for today, we will be discussing PDP's prospects and challenges in the 2023 general election with the head of New Media Department of the PDP Presidential Campaign Council, Lemona Onoja. Welcome to Politics Tonight. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Minister of State for Labour and Employment Festus Keyamo has filed a right of summons at the Federal High Court in Abuja against the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, Atiku Abubakar, over corruption allegations. Keyamo, who is also the spokesperson of the Presidential Campaign Council of the All Progressives Congress APC, is asking the court to compel the Code of Conduct Bureau, the ICPC and the EFCC to investigate, invite and/or arrest Atiku over corruption allegations relating to a certain bank belonging to a company named Marine Float and other accounts of two undisclosed companies. In a statement of claim, Keyamo alleged that a whistleblower, Michael Achimogo, was privy to this information and has gone public with the claims. Some of its contents include how the said accounts were allegedly used as special purpose vehicles to secretly divert and misappropriate public funds between 1999 and 2007, when Atiku served as the vice president of Nigeria. Keyamo says he has obtained the certified true copy of the said affidavit, which he hopes will be repelled upon in the suit. The Supreme Court has affirmed the former Minister of Niger Delta Affairs, Senator Godswill Akpabio, as the candidate of the All Progressives Congress APC for the Akwa Ibom Northwest Senatorial District election, billed for February 25. In a unanimous decision, the five-member panel of the Apex Court upheld an appeal filed by Akpabio challenging the Court of Appeal judgment that nullified his candidacy. In the lead judgment read by Justice Ibrahim Salawa, the Apex Court held that the appellate court lacked the jurisdiction to meddle in the issue of nomination of candidates for an election, which it said was within the purview of an internal affair of a political party. The Apex Court panel resolved 10 issues in favor of Akpabio and accordingly vacated the November 14, 2022 judgment of the Appeal Court in Abuja, which directed Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, to recognize Udom Ekwedom as the authentic candidate of the APC for the senatorial contest. Organized private sector in Nigeria has held a roundtable discussion to engage with key political parties and candidates on their economic blueprints and how they will impact businesses ahead of the 2023 general election. Organized private sector, the umbrella body of business organizations that represents the interests of the private sector in Nigeria, released its agenda for political parties during the meeting in Lagos. At the event, the group stressed that lack of robust economic policies led to poor performances of macro and socioeconomic indicators in the country, such as GDP exchange rates, interest and inflation rates, industrial and manufacturing production, per capita, and youth unemployment.
Once you have a robust advocacy document, but the person you are communicating with, the person that you implement, doesn't connect with the reality of those documents, or if the interest of that person is different, then you will first see your document as being confrontational, or see your policy options as calling to question his own cerebral ability to come up with those policies and defend.
We do that by supporting civic education and mobilization, independent media, informed democratic discourse, protection of civic space and human rights, the expansion of political inclusion, and yes, that engagement of the business community. So it's your work together in which you can demand and expectations of change, become constituencies for change and reform.
We need to find a way, even if it means the private sector or the organized private sector coming together to sponsor some people so that we can have for once round pegs and round holes.
Let's take a short break, and when we return, it will be time to speak with the head of New Media Department of the PDP Presidential Campaign Council, Ilemona Onoja, on PDP's prospects and challenges in the 2023 general election. Please stay with us. All right, welcome back. You're still watching Politics Tonight, digging beyond the headlines. And now to our interview with the guest of the day. I am joined by the head of New Media Department of the PDP Presidential Campaign Council, Ilemona Onoja. Thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, let's start with the campaigns for the 2023 elections. How impressed are you about the process so far?
I'm very happy about the nature of campaigns that we have had. We focused largely on the issues. We have defined a message to the Nigerian people on the need to recover our country, our society, our economy from the maladministration and misrule of the last 7.5 years, and to firmly replace her on the path to socio-economic growth and development. That message has been very well received across the country, and on a daily basis, we're receiving the support of the average Nigerian who has suffered under the impoverishment of the APC and who is eager and excited about the coming elections, which will hold on the 25th of February, and is looking forward to coming out on the election date to cast their votes for the presidential candidate of the PDP, Atiku Abubakar, and our party, and give us their mandate so that we can begin to do the things that will improve the life, welfare, well-being, and the security of the average Nigerian. I'm not so impressed with the conduct of the campaigns of other political parties, which have not stuck to the issues. Other political parties have made this an ethnic and a religious election, and are seeking to pander to the primordial sentiment of the Nigerian people so that they can get, hopefully, pull a fast one in the hope of getting their votes and then, being elected into office next year. That hasn't succeeded, and we have seen how Nigerians across the country have rejected that attempt. It is noteworthy, though, that, at this day and age, in these times, in 2023, people are resorting to tactics and strategy that should have been better left behind, rather than focusing on what the core and the substantial issues are. For the benefit of doubt, I'll repeat those core and substantial issues. Nigeria at the moment suffers from record insecurity. Every single state in this country has a presence of the military deployed in some sort of operation or the other. You cannot, simply cannot get into a vehicle and travel from one end of the country to the other. Kidnapping and banditry is now one of Nigeria's most lucrative industries. We have record lack of access to education for our children. We have the highest number of out-of-school children in the whole world. There are 22 million out-of-school children. We have record lack of access to health care. our government assets, such as NMPC, are now liabilities that contribute no kobo to the Federation account on a monthly basis. We have had a 1 year long fuel scarcity with the occasional break in between. When you check the sum total of these things, you see that the average Nigerian is plagued by sorrow, tears, and blood like never before. Other parties have failed, refused, and or neglected to focus on these issues and provide solutions to these issues, instead pandering to our ethnic and primordial sentiments, seeking to divide us along religious and tribal lines. I'm very proud of my presidential candidate. I'm very proud of my party. We have focused on the issues on a constant basis, on a daily basis. We're putting solutions before Nigerians. We're discussing about the policies. We're discussing about our policy propositions. And we're showing people how we believe, we know that we will bring this country out of the morass that the APC has led us into, and will lead this country firmly on the path to socio-economic growth and development.
All right. So what then are the factors you think have shaped the campaigns so far?
Well, religion and ethnicity, from our political party, the factors that have shaped the campaign are, the core electoral issues, like I just recounted. From other political parties, religion and ethnicity. We've heard the presidential candidate of the APC speak about Emilokon, it is my turn. And we've seen how they have sought to pander to the large voting base in the northern parts of the country by selecting a Muslim presidential candidate and a Muslim vice presidential candidate. From other parts of the political space, we have seen people seek to weaponize my candidate's religion, my candidate's ethnicity against him, saying that he shouldn't be voted for on account of the fact that he's a Fulani person from the northern part of Nigeria. We've seen that. These are the only brickbats against, that people can throw at us. People refuse to come out and accept the challenge that we have put on the table time after time after time, which is simply show us that you have a better plan than ours, which is simply show to the Nigerian people that your plans will yield better results than ours, which is simply point to a track record of improving the lives, lifestyle, welfare, and well-being of the average Nigerian as a basis for saying that you can do so in the future. And, people have failed, refused, and or neglected to do so, simply because when you look at it and you investigate these things, you find out that the candidatures in opposition to Atiku Abubakar's candidature simply do not measure up, and that he's the best, most competent, most experienced, and most prepared candidate to lead us in a post-Buhari era. For the avoidance of doubt, one candidate simply repeats time after time after time that he intends to continue on the legacies of President Muhammadu Buhari, pain and hardship for the Nigerian people. And anybody who threatens, yes, that's the appropriate word, and should not be voted for.
All right. You have moved, round many states to canvass for votes. How confident are you that these support will translate to vote for the PDP on election day?
I'm very confident. Very confident. I believe that by late in the evening on the 25th of February 2023, we will see that my candidate, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, the candidate of the PDP, has surged into a lead from which he will not turn back. We will see that on Sunday, by Sunday the 26th, that lead would have grown, and that most likely by Monday, taking things into consideration, that lead would have become unassailable, and that he will eventually be declared winner of the elections and president-elect of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. As we have gone, this belief is not just fantasy, it's not just something I want to believe. As we have gone across the country seeking the support of Nigerians and canvassing for votes, we have seen Nigerians respond to the message that we have brought. We have seen eager faces. We have seen people happy at the prospect of coming out to cast their vote for our presidential candidate. And that gives me the confidence that, barring any last-minute manipulations of the electoral process, that we will win this election and that come the 29th of May 2023, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar will finally be sworn in as President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
But then, unlike earlier elections in 1999, 2003, 2007, and maybe 2011, substantial parts of election campaigns now take place on social media. But as the head of new media department of the PDP Presidential Campaign Council, how will you compare campaigns for this general election in real life and on social media?
Social media is a reflection of our society. It doesn't exist in a vacuum. The people who do participate or discuss Nigerian politics on social media are people who exist on our streets, our offices, our homes, our markets. They are our friends and our families, our colleagues. Social media is just a reflection of society. What it is a tool, with which people can express opinion. What social media has done is that it has given a democratization of access to information. As such, information is no longer solely controlled by, traditional media houses, radio and television and newspapers. At this time, we're seeing people who are being able to access information at, the click of a button, at the snap of a finger, and off the back of that information are able to make up their minds one way or the other. What we have done in our political party is use social media as a tool to convey our message to the people. And we're doing so in the privacy of their phones, which are one of the most intimate spaces that people have in this country at the moment. We're doing so in the privacy of their homes, in the privacy of their phones, in the privacy of their offices. And we're communicating as directly as possible to the Nigerian people. A few years ago, in the absence of social media, would have not had that sort of opportunity. And we've seen in the past where, government or people are able to clamp down on the media and use a lack of access to the media to harm the prospects of opposition candidates. Thank God that we have social media at this time. And so even though we're still seeing those attempts to clamp down on our party and to make it more difficult for us to campaign to the Nigerian people, we're grateful for the tool that social media is and the various social media platforms are that enables us take our message directly to the Nigerian people, receive feedback directly from the Nigerian people, and engage in a way that is profitable to all of us and gives us the confidence that we are getting the votes, the numbers required to win this election.
All right, so are you saying that what we have on social media now is a reflection of what we have in real life at the grassroots?
There is a certain level of disconnect. While social media is a reflection of our society, there's a certain level of disconnect. Now, there are a lot of people who exist in the country who simply, because of their own preferences, do not use any social media platform. They just simply don't want to be on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, simply just don't want to be. So if you use social media solely to reflect the Nigerian, to assess the Nigerian situation, you miss out on those kind of people. You've got to come out of social media to make sure that your assessment encapsulates those kind of people. The people in the country who, on occasion of rising poverty levels, simply don't have access to social media. They simply don't have smartphones that are social media compliant. They simply don't have, in some cases, the funds and the financing to purchase data through which they can use to access social media. And there are all sorts of reasons. So you have to, while you take into consideration that, there is an assessment of society that can be done using social media, you have to take into consideration that owing to personal reasons or to some sort of societal reasons and a failure of society to people, owing to this combination, there are certain people who exist outside of social media platforms that social media cannot speak for. And so whatever assessment you're going to do, you have to leave your social media platforms and then access those people offline, as we say, and then reach, whatever conclusions you can reach off the back of that.
All right then. So So which set of people do you think will determine the outcome of this election? Voters on social media or voters at the grassroots?
I think it will be a combination of both.
Okay.
You cannot have, neither one of the two can deliver this electoral victory to anybody. It will be a combination of both. It will be people offline who have made up their minds, who have been reached in alternative ways through meetings and town hall meetings at the local level, through adverts on television and radio, through newspaper reports and all that. It will be that on the one hand, but there will also be those people who have made up their mind off the back of what they have received or what they have experienced using social media as a tool. It will be a combination of both. No one demography can win this election. And it's the same thing taking into the consideration the wider demographics. No one religion of people, no one set of religious adherents, faithful, will win this election for anybody. No one region will win this election for anybody. No one geopolitical zone will win this election for anybody. It has to be a combination of all of that. And once we take that into consideration, we also know that that applies to the use of new media for campaign purposes. Social media is not going to win this election for anybody. It's really that simple. You need people offline. People offline are not going to win this election for anybody. You need people on social media. It's a combination of both.
All right, so in what area would you say your presidential candidate has an upper hand, offline or online?
I would say, again, both. Offline, we're able to reach people using the structure of our political party. We're able to reach people in far-flung areas of the country where there's no access to social media, where there's no access to sometimes to data and all of that. We're able to reach people there. We're able to hear their cries and their complaints. We're able to show them that we have designed policies for the future that will improve their lifestyle, welfare, and well-being and their security. We're able to do that. However, also online, in spite of very loud. I'm trying not to use the word noise, but I use the word noise loosely. In spite of the very loud, responses that we receive from people from a certain section of the political space, we're also able to very clearly distill our message and tell our people our plans for the economy, our people being Nigerians. We're able to tell people our plans for the economy. We're able to tell people our plans for healthcare. We're able to tell people our plans for education. We're able to tell people about our candidates' experience. We're able to tell people about our candidates' preparation for the future. So once you take all these things into consideration, we have a robust campaign that leverages and gives us strength online and offline.
All right, then. If you would agree with me, the presidential election can be likened to a four-horse race among PDP, APC, NNPP, and Labour Party. So then, what gives your candidates an edge in this election?
Everything. Everything gives my candidate an edge. My candidate, one, is the most experienced of all the contenders for the office of President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And I'll explain what that means. My candidate is the only candidate that has been involved at the national level in the design and implementation of policy that generates or that creates generational wealth. My candidate is the only person who has experience at the national level of what it takes to reform all sectors of government. My candidate is the only candidate who has experience at the national level, insight into what it takes to reform our security agencies. My candidate is the only candidate at the national level who has insight into what it takes to manage Nigeria's diversity. My candidate has the strongest economic plans, where he says that we need to run a private sector-led, market-driven economy. That is the only way we are going to be able to create jobs for our people and wealth for our people. My candidate is at the forefront when he says that this constitution, this current socio-political structure that we run doesn't work for the benefit of all Nigerian people. As such, let us restructure the country. Again, miles ahead on everybody else, when on that score, he is the only one who has the cross-country network to bring together various parts of the country to be able to determine what system of socio-political administration will best be suited for this country. My candidate is the one who speaks the most about the issues relating to giving access and improving the quality of education that will ensure that we bring out the 22 million out-of-school children back into the education net and ensure that everybody is educated for the future. Not just educated, educated properly with skills that ensure that they can compete in a global market. My candidate is the only one who identifies, or who was the first one, and who speaks with the biggest, deepest level of insight and policy planning for resolving the challenges in the power sector. When we say, even if we improve the amount of power generated on a daily basis, because the national grid is small and it is unwieldy, it is large and unwieldy and cannot wheel out the amount of power generated, we simply cannot function and deliver power to the Nigerian people. So we have to decentralize our power structure, and then we have to seek for alternative sources of power while bringing as much as possible private sector equity into our power system to ensure that we're able to enlarge the national grid. I can go on and say that my candidate is the only one who speaks very clearly and very committedly when he says that we have to remove fuel subsidy. He's the only one with experience at that level on the process that must be implemented to ensure that we remove fuel subsidy with as little pain to the Nigerian people as possible and ensure the better application of those resources that are used to pay for fuel subsidies. I can go on and on. My candidate, amongst all the top contenders, is the only one who has that level of international connection that can ensure that Nigeria takes her place in the Committee of Nations and that Nigerian nationals are treated properly like human beings when we are out of the country, with decency and with respect. Once we come away, and I have the pride of coming to your television station to challenge people. All right. Let us analyze the facts.
I'm sure you can. I'm sure you can go on and on. But at this point,
analysis of the fact.
At this point, let's take a short break, and we will continue our discussion after this break.